So over the NFL offseason, we heard some statements like the Cleveland Browns will be Super Bowl contenders in 2019. We now sit here in late October, and their season's basically over. So I'll admit I slightly bought into this team. I did have them making the playoffs, I believe, as a 9-7 team. I had them making the wild card. I did not think they'd get anywhere near the Super Bowl this year, but I figured maybe next year, maybe if Baker Mayfield develops even further and they add some more talent next year, maybe there's a chance that could happen. And look, there's still a chance for it. I'm not completely out on Baker Mayfield right now. You know, a lot of his interceptions aren't even his fault. He's made some really bad decisions this year. I understand that, but his receivers have let him down at times as well, and especially his offensive line. So the Browns are a perfect example about how an offensive line and a clueless head coach can just ruin an entire season. I still think they have a talented roster. That's why I had them at 9-7. But you know, Freddie Kitchens being just an incompetent coach and their offensive line just being completely trash, they are probably not going to make the playoffs this year. They might not even be a 500 football team, which not a lot of people expected, but it's probably the reality of the situation right now. So I went back and listed some of Freddie Kitchens' very questionable decisions so far this year, and this is just off the top of my head, so if Browns fans are watching this and want to just add a few more, go ahead. So the one that comes to mind, obviously, is the 4th and 9 in week 3, I believe it was, against the Rams. You know, it was a 4th and 9, obviously, they ran a draw play. It made no sense to me. I've never seen a draw on a 4th and 9, maybe a 3rd and 9, where you're deciding you're going to go for it on 4th down as well, just to gain some extra yardage. But on 4th and 9, it literally seemed like he forgot what down it was, and that was a very, very bad red flag right there. He started the New England game against probably one of the best pass defenses we've ever seen, with 3 straight pass attempts in the rain. He has a running back named Nick Chubb, very, very good. I understand he had 2 fumbles last game, but he still had like over 5 yards a carry, or even 6 yards a carry, whatever it was last time. Last game as well, he kicked a 47-yard field goal on a 4th and 6, down 27-10 with under 3 minutes left. I understand you're making it a 2-touchdown game, all that kind of stuff, and luckily for him, their kicker made it. So it was a 14-point game after that. But at the same time, what kind of decision is that? It's a 4th and 6. It was a 4th and 1. I believe they had a false start on that play. At 4th and 6, and you don't go for it with the weapons you have and all that kind of stuff, it made no sense to me. And of course, this team has so many penalties week in and week out. There is no discipline, and I think Baker Mayfield called out the team for that as well and kind of took some shots at Freddie Kitchens, which makes sense. I mean, I'd be mad too if my team was committing as many penalties as the Browns did. So the Browns sit at 2-5 now. As I said, there's 9 games remaining, and if this same stuff continues with all the penalties and just the dumb play calling and bad decision making, you won't see Freddie Kitchens on the sidelines in Cleveland next year. So here's the thing though, they have an easy schedule down the stretch. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but they could make this season respectable and somewhat salvage this season. So they have 2 games with the Bengals, who are winless right now, the Dolphins, who did play well tonight. It is Monday night when I'm recording this. They played well against the Steelers, but they lost that game as well, so they still have no wins. The Steelers twice, and then the Broncos next week without Joe Flacco. So there are some winnable games on their schedule. They have some tough games. They play the Ravens in there, and I think there's another tough game as well. But they can still go around 7-9 or 8-8 maybe, and have a respectable type of season. And maybe they have a strong second half. Maybe Freddie Kitchens saves his job. They might be playing for him, and maybe some Browns players want that man fired at this point. I'm not sure, but there's a chance that they can have a respectable season after the way this started. So there's going to be no playoff appearance this year in all likelihood, and definitely this is a failure of a season for the Cleveland Browns. I feel bad for some guys on that team. I do like some of the guys. I mean, I'm an Odell Beckham fan. Of course, I'm a Giants fan, and I think Odell, a lot of Giants fans don't like the guy, but I like him. I think he wants to win very badly, and I thought he would have a chance this year to win some games, but unfortunately that was not the case. So they're still young. They're still talented. We'll see what happens next year. There's still some very good players on this team. Maybe they bounce back next year with a different head coach and they make a run. Maybe they make the playoffs. Maybe Baker Mayfield looks a lot better and they go even further than any of us expect. I don't know, but there was just too much hype around this team in the offseason. Never thought they had Super Bowl aspirations in 2019, but next year's a new year, and as I said, they're still talented, so you never know. So we'll see what Cleveland does in 2020, and even the rest of this year if they can go 8-8 or even 7-9.